Hey there, I'm Aimee here, and welcome to my podcast. This is the podcast that you come to if you are looking for true inspiration and motivation in your life. I will be sharing stories of people who have been through significant traumas, who have been through hardship, adversity, and really deep challenges in their lives, and who have chosen to look at those things as an opportunity to create success in their life. I really hope you enjoy listening in. On today's episode, I get to chat with someone who I've been following on social media for quite a while, and I started following him because his business hosted my very first business idol, Sir Richard Branson. Huge fan of Richard Branson's. I've read his books. I've followed him for a long time, and when Success Resources brought him to Australia, I knew that I had to be there. And this man, Michael Lane, has been through some amazing challenges and feats in his business career. He's got a 21 years experience with running businesses. He has a wealth of knowledge in many sectors. He is the managing director and shareholder of Success Resources, the world's largest provider of educational events, featuring world-class speakers such as Sir Richard Branson. Melanie Perkins is founder of Canva, Tom Brady, Tony Robbins, Bill Clinton, Lord Alan Sugar, who, if you're in Australia, you will know for the most recent series of The Apprentice, will.i.am, Gary Vaynerchuk, Sara Blakely, and hundreds more. I'm like thinking Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm like, Gary V. If you don't know who Gary V is, go check him out on social media. Yeah, he's just phenomenal. Michael is a leader who is passionate about education. Success Resources is an education-based company. He is an expert in the touring space and a master at relationship building. With many businesses, he collaborates with a wide spectrum of well-known influencers and experts. Pre-COVID, Success Resources ran over 500 events per year in 35 countries, turning over $150 million per year with 10 offices and 250 staff globally. They have 12 million clients globally, and Success Resources is considered the most successful personal and professional development company anywhere in the world. The largest live event that they did was 112,000 people in 15 cities in 2019. During COVID times, they're now running large-scale virtual events, streaming directly to over 150 countries per event, and hosted 900,000 plus clients virtually since COVID, and have built a strong mid-range 8-figure business digitally in under 12 months. It was a really, really, really great chat. We went deep, we went all over the place, and we provided a lot of value in this conversation. If you are into business, or if you are into, just learning about life in general, then this is definitely one that you want to have a listen to. Enjoy. Today, I am joined by Michael Lane. Thank you so much for sharing some time with me today.
Of course, great to be with you.
Now, this is, we were just chatting before about, this has been like kind of, we've been trying to organize this for a while now.
We have.
And I wanted to, I don't know if you'll remember, but back in, well, you of course you remember the time, but back when Richard Branson came to Australia in 2019, he was in Sydney in November, and I am like, okay, Richard Branson was the reason I got into business.
Okay.
And I messaged you a very cheeky message through Instagram and said, I'm going to talk on your stage one day. So this has kind of been since then for me.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we could connect and make this happen. And hopefully you'll be on my stage soon.
Yay. That would be awesome. I've got you recorded now, so I'll hold you to that. So Michael, you get to speak with and get to host some of the most amazing personal and professional development masters, if you will, from all over the world. And I'm kind of just in awe of this thing that you've created. Before we get into all that is Success Resources and all that is Michael Lane, I kind of want to take you, or get you to take us on a little bit of a journey. And tell me, what was life like for you growing up? What was your childhood like? Because I have this firm belief that anyone that does what you do the way that you do it, and anyone that's, truly successful, there's a story there.
Yeah, look, I think there's definitely a story, and there's always a story behind the story, right? So for me, I grew up in Brisbane, South Brisbane, and very hardworking, middle-class family. I have 2 other siblings. I'm the eldest. And from an early age, I knew I was built a little bit differently. At the age of 7, 8, 9, I don't know exactly when, but it's in that time frame, I knew I wanted things that normal kids didn't want. I was looking at, Forbes magazines, Rob Report, Showboat, and Fast Car magazines. And all my friends thought I was a little bit odd because they were collecting basketball cards or footy cards and reading comic books and those kind of things. And I remember observing it, and I wasn't naturally a very aware kid, but I do remember going, I wonder why that stuff. And I used to fake it to my friends. I used to go, oh, how cool is that? In the back of my head, I'm going, oh gosh, I wish I could go back and read my magazines and the things that inspired me. But I knew I was wired a little bit differently, and it wouldn't really come out until probably I got to high school. Now, by this time at high school, I'd moved back to Sydney. So I grew up for the first 1 year in my life. I was born in New South Wales. My parents moved to Brisbane. And then by the age of 12, I was back in New South Wales. And I went to a high school, which was a very well-to-do high school. My father knew someone very high up in the school and basically got us in. And it was a boarding school in Sydney. Everyone's parents all the kids and all their parents must have done very well because it was a very expensive school. And I remember thinking, why are my parents allocating their resources to this? And, I had shown for probably many years that I wasn't never going to be the academic. But my parents truly believed in education. I think that's where I get my belief system around education. And I went to a really good school with, great friends, great values. But more importantly, I was hanging around kids whose parents were uber successful. To give you an idea, and the listeners some kind of idea, at the school holidays, we'd get in one friend's private jet, head somewhere to another friend's dad's or parents' beach house, to then another friend's exotic place somewhere else. So for me and my lens of wanting to be successful from an early age, this was amazing for me. This got me to really start to think about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to become. So when you go through high school where you get to experience these things that normal kids don't, it really just amplified my, wanting to, maybe start my own business, become successful, make $1 million or whatever that thing was when we were kids. But that's a little bit about my background, which I don't really talk about that much, and I appreciate you asking the question. But I knew from the age of before 10 that I was built differently and I wanted different things to my friends.
It's interesting you say that, and it's so great that you had that realization at such a young age, because it took me up to 28 to realize that I was different. And I had these issues so I suppose friendship issues, because I was so different at school, and I was the person who I kind of, flew by the seat of my pants and made it through school and passed everything. And sport was my thing that I excelled at. And I grew up in this little town that wasn't kind of a thing. There wasn't many people excelling in many facets of anything really. But to be wired differently, and for such a long time, I beat myself up about it, and I wanted to fit in, I wanted to conform, but I just didn't. So, I watch my kids, and I've got 3 little boys, and I know what I went through, and I'm watching them, and they're doing what you did as a child. And I'm hoping that, they have that realization that you had at 10, well, one of them's almost 10, to just be okay with being different.
Yeah. I think it's such an important piece. Yeah. I love that we're going down this path. And just so everyone's listening, in my past, I've really idolized entrepreneurship. And I still do, but not as much as I used to, because it's hard. It's grueling. I've been fortunate to have no money, and I've been fortunate to have money. I've been in a position where I've had to work really hard and not create success. I've also worked hard, but cruised a bit and had success. And I've had everything in between. And I think, and when I first started having kids and I thought, I want to teach them the rules of entrepreneurship and this, and now I just want them to truly be happy.
Yeah.
And sometimes entrepreneurship isn't happiness. And I think it gets idolized in a very particular way to go, you can be an entrepreneur and you can have whatever you want. I'm telling you right now, if you truly understand this entrepreneurial journey, it is harrowing. It is tough. And you can't change it. I know I'm built this way. I can't change it now. But I hope to some degree my kids aren't, because I would love them to be a great number 3 in a company, still get their entrepreneurial, juices flowing and be able to do what they want to do, but be under a nice corporate structure where, they've got certainty. For me, I don't wish anyone to go through the journey that I've been through, because I know how tough it's been. I'm also, and I put some of these, challenges on myself. I created this beast, and I've got to only look in the mirror to find my faults and look at who created this. But I truly believe in the entrepreneurial journey, as bad as what I just made it out to be. But for me, I'm just built in that way that if I'm a true entrepreneur, I can't take a salary.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, I take a percentage of whatever value I bring. If I don't bring value, I don't deserve to get paid. And it's a real fine line, because I could be earning a really cushy salary right now. Right. But if you understand and live by this motto, you can't be half pregnant and go, I want to change the world, but give me a nice, base to at least get through stuff. I just can't do that. Right. So I don't want my kids to have to go through this to a degree, but if they are blessed and cursed with being to the degree of entrepreneur that I am, I hope they find happiness in the process, not in the stuff, right? Because I've had the stuff and it doesn't make me happy. So look, we went deeper than I thought we would there. And you said to me,
very quickly too.
you said, hey, have you got any, challenges on where this goes? And I love that I said no. But I just hope people truly understand happiness has to be our compass. It can't be this idolizing entrepreneurship. It can't be idolizing stuff and things like I did for many years. And I hope people understand, what their joy and what their happiness is.
I remember getting into business, almost 15 years ago. I was 20. I had to think about that for a sec. How old am I? I read Richard Branson's Screw It, Let's Do It. And that was just my thing. And I was like, I'm going to be the female Richard Branson. And I remember my dad was a fruit and veggie farmer. We grew up in this tiny little town, and he was the, sunrise to sunset, 7 days a week worker. And he said to me when I started, and it was a cleaning business. So it was the very first business I started. And I started it with a $500 payday loan. And he said, kiddo, bite off more than you can chew, and chew like buggery. So that's exactly what I did. That's all I had. And I was that sunrise to sunset, 7 days, just grinding. And yes, I had that where you make a great amount of money, but then you got no time to do anything. And then, at the time I was in a really, really toxic relationship and very lost within myself. And I got pregnant, and I was like, okay, well, I can't do that anymore. So I sold the business. I had some time to really find myself and find my feet. And, I love that you touch on how hard it is, because people do get starry-eyed. And I had that at 20 years old, going, I can work for myself, and no one's going to tell me what to do. And then when someone told me what to do, I was like, oh, you what? Like, I'm not dictated by clients. And I went, oh, actually, I really am. And it brings me to, you spoke about having the love and that thing that makes you happy. And I really think that if we lead everything that we do with passion and purpose, then making money is just a natural consequence of doing this thing really well. So, you've got success resources, and just this beautiful, I call it the beautiful giant, because it's really this huge, big thing, but you bring so much value to people. I've been at those events. What sits behind that? Like, why Success Resources?
Yeah. Look, it's funny, and just so the audience understands, success can happen quite quickly. When I say quickly, a decade. And to give everyone some idea, in 2009, we were doing 3 little events in Australia, and then it grew to 525, doing 150 million turnover by 2019. Wow. So there's 10 years, right? And there was a whirlwind, and there's so much within that 10 years, good and bad. But look, there were some fundamental changes and things that happened as myself and the founders that we had to continue to change and evolve to get that kind of growth. Sometimes you stumble on a decade worth of growth, and sometimes you actually create it. We stumbled on some of it, but we created a lot of it. Some simple things, right? 2013, 14, life's going really well. We go from 8 million a year to 60 pretty quickly.
Wow.
In about 18 months.
Wow.
But then for some reason, I completely changed the whole philosophy and go, let's make it all cheaper, more accessible, and have everyday clients, not just successful entrepreneurs, not just, if I can put on events and charge $39 for a Richard Branson, what difference is that going to make?
Yeah.
That young entrepreneur who gets in there and goes, I put my $39 hard earned down. What can I learn from that? Now, on the outside, I remember some of my partners going, dude, are you crazy? I mean, we got a good thing here, and we're charging a couple of $100 for that same pass. Yeah. I said, let's drop the barrier. Let's get more people in. And there was some method to the madness. You don't have to be too smart to figure out the more people you get in your funnel, hopefully the more people continue to go through your funnel. But there was it wasn't a marketing ploy. It was, let's continue to try and change people's lives and make it as big a difference as we could. If we did that, they'll come back. Yeah. And the money will continue to flow. And fortunately, the thesis was correct. Yeah. And, in the last 6 years pre-COVID, we dropped the barrier on so much of our stuff, and we just made it so accessible. And this is what led us to be able to scale quite quickly to go, well, how do we get in 38 countries in 10 years' time, running events, and back in the day, it was like, I was the salesperson, I was the event producer, I was the negotiator of the talent. Then I was the water guide backstage, and I was the MC and announcing, hey, we're about to get started. And how do you quickly transform that into 525? That's 10 a week in 37 to 38 countries. You can't just do it by yourself. There's a team, there's systems and processes. So, I'm really proud of what we created, and I'm really excited for where the business is going. But we had some fundamental changes we made to get to this point where we were considered the biggest and the largest globally. But we made some very conscious decisions to take the onus and the profit away from us to invest into something that would grow quicker and faster. And this is a real strategy that most people don't think about, right? Yeah. Most people get into business and they go, well, what's your ROI? How much money are you going to make? And what's this all look like? Well, I'm telling you right now, we did a company that was doing over $1 billion collectively in that decade. And we didn't take any money off the table. Now, I said it earlier, I take a percentage of turnover. If I can't build it, and I put everything into this to go, well, in 2009, I'm on this much money, but if I can play this out and make a difference, then I took a percentage of over $1 billion. That helps, right? Yep. But then if you can't make it work, you don't deserve to get paid, and that's just the cut of the cloth that I'm from, right? So for me is continuing to find a way to make a difference in people's lives, and the money always catches up.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. Absolutely. Just like I said, if you're providing value, if you're doing something that you love and that you're really passionate about, the money just comes. It's that natural consequence of doing it. Let's talk about COVID, because live events I mean, yeah, it was just like it was overnight and it was gone. How did you get through that? How did you like put me at a boardroom table, and what's the conversations, and how do you navigate through when the world decided it just was going to have a hiccup?
Wow, I've actually got goosebumps that we're talking about it. Because I want to be respectful of the audience and give them as much value as I can. So if everyone can picture this, it's March 17, 2020.
Yep, I'm there.
I'm sitting in Jay Shetty's house in Beverly Hills, actually in Hollywood Hills. I'm planning the next couple of years of business. I have 10 offices around the world, 252 staff, and life's pretty good. COVID was starting to rear its head, and even in Los Angeles, when I was there, it was, hey, this all over the news, and I'm like, it'll pass. And I remember within 2 days, it was like ScoMo saying, you got to get back. If you're overseas, you got to get back now, or you may not get back. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Jump on a plane. And before I jumped on the plane, I'm in the Qantas lounge in LA, heading back to Sydney. And I'm on a board meeting, an emergency board meeting, because I got offices around the world. And we'd already started to see, because we were a China office, we'd seen what was going on in China and even in Singapore and Southeast Asia. And it really still didn't click. Even when we were getting updates, from those regions, hey, this thing's starting to affect us. It didn't hit me until I was in the Qantas lounge, heading back to Sydney on the 17th of March, where it was like, wow, this thing is going to really make a difference now. And I don't know what life's going to look like. I remember being on this board meeting going, we're cancelling every event we have. And now to give you an idea, we're cancelling 200 events in 20 plus countries, 200,000 ticket holders and people who have got tickets, who hard-earned money, $39 want to go to here, or even $3,000 because I want to go to a higher-end course, right? Yeah. So it was a long flight home, and I actually think I got COVID on that flight back.
Oh, wow.
It was so early that in the whole COVID experience, and I got back and I didn't feel right. My chest was sore and all this, and I don't get sick. I've been extremely blessed to be very healthy for a long period of time. I went straight to my doctor, and the doctor goes, nah, you'll be fine. Go home. It'll be fine. We don't need to do a test. It's all palaver.
Wow.
And for the next 2-3 weeks, I'm like, and never been told I had it, but I think I had it. But look, I got back to a world where within 2 days, we're all working from home and everything changed. So look, it's been a very long 18 months. Now, to give you guys some metrics and some info, I told you about the stuff we had to postpone and all these kind of things. I went from, a very solid 2019 to the first 3 months of 2020, my best quarter ever. We'd never impacted so many lives previously, to then stop, and a very standstill moment. I remember being in my house going, I have no idea. I've never worked from home. I've no how I do this. All I knew is I had to get on Zoom and get as many of my staff on Zoom and start to talk through a process. I remember just connecting and doing different things constantly. And when they said, how are we going to get through this? I had to fake it till we made it. I had to say, we've got a plan. We'll figure it out. And again, for people listening at home, in Australia, we got told that there's no more than 500 people in an event. Well, I got straight on and went, guys, I got a plan for 500. We're going to crush it. 3 days later, no more than 100 in an event. Guys, don't worry. I got a plan. We'll figure this out. China, I know you've been shut down. I know you're here shutting down. We were globally shut down. Wow. Then in Australia, they said no more than 10 in a room. And I was like, damn, maybe this COVID's defeated me. I can't run 10. You need a speaker on stage. You need somebody to do the audio visual. There's 2 people. Do I sell 8 tickets? And then do I have a system where I bring 1 staff in, and then when someone goes, it just wouldn't work. So we had to make some changes. Now, it took me 45 days to make changes. So this is the reality, right? This is where everyone says, oh, we had to pivot, we had to iterate. Sometimes when you have such a big ferry, you can't just turn this thing around. So we tried to look for different things, different ways. And then I remember 40 odd days later, we ran our first virtual event. We knew nothing about Zoom. We knew nothing about what we were doing. All we knew is that we had to get back on the horse. And here was the big factor that changed everything for me. Because I was in 7 days of a real, not, I wouldn't say depression, but 7 days of, has everything I've created gone?
Yeah.
Is it just evaporated? And within about 7 days, I remember saying to myself, we're in the business of changing lives. We're not in the business of running seminars and events. And I went, boom, I get it. This is not about running 500 events a year. It was never about that when we started. We never had a goal to do 500. It's ludicrous. The thought of it now to run 500 is madness. I'll never do it again. I won't even build a business to do that again. It got to that. But I made a decision. I'm in the business of changing lives. It's not in the business of running events. I got back to where we needed to go, back on the horse to go, I'm here to make a difference. Let's remember that. And things changed. Instantly, things started to work. Instantly, we started to get traction. And again, just so we're clear, I came out of 2020 doing $43 million online from a standstill start in 9 months, not in the 12 months. And we found a way to make it work because I had a vision and mission that is bigger than me, bigger than the business, and it pulled me through it. Doesn't mean that it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. But we were focused, we were clear on our mission, and we didn't give up. And that's the biggest thing that I can say. When I look back now on our COVID, pre-COVID to now in middle of COVID, and we've got a post-COVID world coming. But look, you know, I'm just so grateful that I've refound that purpose. It took me 7 days to refind it. And I think the lesson here for people is, what is that mission for you? What is that purpose for you? So hopefully people can truly understand that when you get back on your vision, back on your mission, amazing things can happen. And for me, you know, that was a real important piece of the puzzle that I had to get back to.
You know, it's just listening to you say it and I'm going, oh, I can still feel the pain. Very, very similar sort of thing where everything blew up. And I remember my birthday was March 13. I had an event March 14.
Wow.
My little boy on the 13th of March played the Cowboys home, or the Townsville Stadium that had just opened up. My little boy got to run out and play the very first football match on that thing, and I was his coach. And it was just like all of this stuff happening. And then in the background, there's this whole COVID thing. And we're in Townsville, right? We're a little bit behind up here. My attitude was much like yours. No, we'll be okay. It's fine. It's, you know, what, it's not going to affect us. And March 14 run this event and it was amazing. And we had like Lisa Messenger was there and Sam Johnson was there and these beautiful people. And we shared with women, you know, to help empower them. And then March 17 rolls around and I was like, geez, guys, this is pretty serious stuff. March 18, we were supposed to leave the country. It was my youngest boy's second birthday. We were supposed to go on our first big family overseas holiday. And it was, I think, the day before it all got fizzled out, cancelled. And on March 20, my dog died.
Oh,
and
no.
I've just gone like, right,
Wow.
You know what? And it was, I said out of that whole COVID situation that there were two sorts of people that went through COVID. There were the type of people who went, this is really great. This is an opportunity. And there were the type of the people who crumbled and they went, that's it. Everything's over. I'm done. And I was really determined to be the person who saw it as an opportunity after I had my week of crying and going, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And it was this beautiful sequence of events that opened up into my purpose has always been the same. And the vision has always been, you know, this is what it would be. But COVID gifted me the opportunity to really fulfill that in a deep and meaningful way. And, you know, I suppose that's something that you would have seen with the people around you as well, that there are that kind of dynamic of people where someone saw it as an opportunity and we went, okay, how do we use this to our advantage? How can we create something out of this? And then the people who went, I'm done. this is like everything's over.
Yeah. And like everyone, I had both sides of the spectrum around me in close proximity, right? And you got to do your best sometimes with family just to block out, not overreact or respond. But you got to continue to find ways to keep your focus and your strategy on whatever is most important. But it's interesting, we think back now, and I had a goal, and I still have a goal for this decade, and I always work in decades. My 2020 or this decade's goal was to impact 1 billion people via education in this decade. And I truly believe in the saying, life is always happening for me, not to me.
Yeah.
And in that 7 days where I was like, what's this happening? This is not happening for me. This is actually happening to me. You know, what's going on is, and then I look back now and I go, here's the ironic thing. My business pre-COVID would never have gotten to impacting 1 billion people physically live in events, unless something really crazy happened. But in this virtual world, do you mean I've done over 1 million people in about a year now, online, in sort of a quick time frame? You know, one event had 116,000 people. You know, there's different things that we've done where I'm like, wow, I can actually get closer to my goal by having this virtual model. Yes, later this decade we'll be able to do live events again at some point, but it's funny, life is always happening for us. And if we continue to have that psychology and we look at it and go, okay, let's see what comes up. Let's see how we move through this. And when I did that, and now I look at it and go, there's no way I can hit my 1 billion by just doing live events. It would have been too big a task for my staff, too big a task for myself. And now I get to put on an event and go live with an event. We had an event last weekend with Tony Robbins with over 10,000 people. Wow. And I was here on the Gold Coast. I didn't have to be at the event. I could log in, I could tune in, and we had 100, and I think actually I had 85 countries where people came and tuned in from. So it's amazing what happens when we've got the right psychology, the right strategy, and we truly got something we believe in. Then life is always happening for us.
Is that in terms of advice, if someone was looking to start a business, and we've kind of spoken about, your entrepreneurial journey, but if someone came to you and genuinely said, I want to start a business, what advice would you give them? What would you say to them?
Wow, this is a great question, and it seems so simple, the answer, but I can't give a simple answer. Here's the thing, right? There's a very right way to start a business and a very wrong way to start a business. The first thing has to be, what's the mission, the vision, the passion? Because once you identify that, you'll start to get a bit more of where you need to take this. You then need to very quickly take that passion and turn it into a purpose. What am I going to do here? What's the difference I'm going to make? The passion can be, here's an example. I'm passionate about golf. I love playing golf. I always have. But I'm not going to get up 5 days a week at 5:30 and go through till midnight as I would for my business, right? So there's degrees of passion. You got niche passions even. A purpose is a little bit different. Okay, this is something that's meaningful. I can do this for a decade. I can get up early, go late, do whatever I got to do. But there's a third piece of the puzzle here, and it's called an obsession. And that's where all the growth comes. And the obsession, and it gets a bad rap, the old obsessed. But you need to be obsessed about taking that passion, that purpose, and making a difference globally. That's the first piece of the puzzle. So everyone's still with me here. The next piece of the puzzle is learning from the likes of Tony Robbins, but especially Sir Richard Branson, because I did the first 15 years of my business journey wrong. And this is why I think it's important today for people listening to this to understand there is a proven method to this stuff. So if I was answering someone's question right now and they ticked the passion box, they're truly in this for the right reason, not just to make some money. I would then say, you need to go craft your plan around giving anywhere from 50 to 75% of it to other people, companies, or groups who have the components that you don't have. Here's an example. I just bought another business and it settled about 3 weeks ago. I strategically only took 25% of that because I did 75% with people who had 6 million database of clients, who had footprint in about 7 countries. And I had other people with me. So now I have a 25% stake in this amazing company, which I'll make announcements soon. And I've given or done a deal where I've got other people to the party who have got all this amazing resources, talent, expertise, distribution, who can do all the heavy lifting. Because here's the thing, the first 15 years, I wanted to do it all myself. I wanted to be the entrepreneur. And Sir Richard Branson talks about, you got a great idea and a great opportunity, get out of the way of it. Find people who have already got the results, right?
Yeah.
How long was it going to take me to go get a 6 million database of people I can bring to this? Probably 20, 30 million over 5, 10 years of hard work to get to that. Why not gift or compensate or do something to get parties in who can help you with this? I've found a way to hyper grow businesses. And that is to not be selfish, have a big vision and plan, go partner with people who have got the resources for you to find hyper growth. I'm ultra passionate about entrepreneurs getting in and starting their business correctly. I really am passionate about hating people who finally pull the trigger on their business. They start that cafe. They go get the most expensive coffee machine and they knew they shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But they don't have people, partners, and different things that can show them how to do it. And 9 months later, they close up that shop. Yeah. They're in debt.
Yeah.
And they've got to go work again. It takes them 10 years to get out of it. Don't be like that. Be smart. Go find partners. You can still control it. You can still do what you want to do, but be smart about it. And that's the biggest thing. And I've taken much longer to answer your question than I probably should have. But I really
love that you have.
I want people to understand that there's a right way and not saying there's necessarily a wrong way. There's a smart way to get to where you want to be quicker if you do it with a little bit of intellect and not just that ego of going, I've got to do it all myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, for having been someone who's very much learnt the hard way and, gone down that path of you do it all by yourself. And like I said, that thing with my dad, bite off more than you can chew and chew like buggery. That was in there until I just kind of went, oh, it just doesn't have to be like this. And I find, I don't know whether this is just a thing that I find locally, and especially, in the female business space that I'm in locally, but there's a lot of competition and everyone's viewing each other as competition. And I like to kind of shake that up a bit. And I've gone out, quite publicly in my local area and saying, I'm not your competition and you aren't mine, because I'm me and you're you, and you can't be me and I can't be you. So if we can just support each other, because there are enough pieces of the pie to go around for everyone, how about we high five each other on the way rather than stab each other in the back? And, if we all had that mentality, I think the world in general would be a much nicer place, a much more cooperative place, because we're high-fiving each other. We're going, yeah, great job. Hey, you do this and I'm going to do this. And collectively we can make an impact. But if we all go out and we all try and do it for ourselves by ourselves, then we're all just all these individuals running around crazy, bumping into each other. And it just doesn't flow.
No, I think, collaborating with people in your industry is so important, right? It's, you can compete or you can collaborate. And most people don't have the mental awareness to go, oh, no, that's my competition. I can't do anything. There's an old adage, I remember this because I grew up in my first few jobs was in the motor industry. And in Sydney, there's this thing called Parramatta Road. It was called Auto Alley. Every brand went down this Parramatta Road. And what they did, which was really smart, rather than competing against each other, they created a co-op. And they went, let's all come together. Let's meet quarterly. Let's all put, different money into the pot to get people to come to the alley to just come to your dealership. Because we know if they come to the alley, they'll probably shop down the whole street. And it's a different mentality, right? And too many people, and maybe that analogy is too old now because of, shopping online and different things, but it really gets people to start thinking, going, what if we put our power of marketing together? we get more attention, and there'll be enough to go around. So I think it's important to look at, what are you doing in your space? And if you can push your mentality to go, how can I collaborate more than compete? And you get on board and you sit there and you go, okay, here's my 3 biggest competitors. What could we do if some strange, bizarro world we all got together? What difference could we make? What could we do? But again, entrepreneurship sometimes is so cutthroat. It's like, it's all me. I've got to just work on getting through my month, my quarter, getting to meet my expenses. Step out of that as often as you can and go, what can I do if we make a difference here? Now, not all your competitors are going to jump on board, but something energetically changes when you show up differently and you go from scarcity to abundance. Right? Great things come from this abundance mentality. It may not show up in your profit margin immediately, but it'll show up in mysterious ways. So I think it's important. You do have to try and put that competition hat off, put on the collaboration one, see what comes up for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And lastly, being in the personal and professional development space, who's been your favorite speaker?
Oh my gosh.
Is there one?
That's such a tough question. I've got so many. Look, to be honest, Tony Robbins had the biggest impact on me personally. I went to a Tony Robbins event in 2003. I made a decision to make a difference and use my life to go and do amazing things. And I created the company in my head first at that event on what I wanted. I wanted to fill stadiums for events. And I made a decision in that event, and I was blessed to be able to do that. However, there's one person who I continue to reference, and not everyone knows of him. And there's been a lot of women too who have influenced my journey. A lot of great, amazing female speakers as well. But the second person who has impacted my business journey more than anyone is a gentleman called Jay Abraham, the original godfather of marketing. Now, for everyone who's listening and they don't know of this name, Google it. You will see a grey-haired old distinguished gentleman. And I've been very fortunate that I started my Jay Abraham journey in my beat-up old car with a tape deck. And it was a Tony Robbins interviewing Jay Abraham called Power Talk.
Wow.
I listened to it hundreds of times. And I would suggest to anyone who wants to have a greater marketing lens, a greater strategic lens, or a greater joint venture aspect to their world, listen to that interview as many times as you can. I've since gone on to promote and tour Jay many times, had dinners around the world with him and been blessed. But this is a guy, and again, just so everyone understands, testimonials are a bit of an older age thing. I think most people should be getting back to doing more testimonials, by the way. But imagine you were back in the 80s and 90s and even the 70s, and you got a testimonial from someone. Very rare, because you had to write in a letter. Jay Abraham has, pre the internet, had $12 billion of growth in clients' companies.
Wow.
Documented, actually sent letters in to go, this impacted me by $78,000 in my business, or whatever it is. In this internet world, it's probably a lot more than that now. But this is a guy who thinks so strategically, and I've got so much of my thinking from him. I've done 560 plus partnerships and joint ventures because of this man. And if you want to think differently and grow your business differently, listen to that 2-hour interview. It'll change everything. So that's the person who's had the greatest business impact on me.
He's, just, you talk about the writing, things down on notes, and how fortunate we are to this day and age have just so much technology at our fingertips. It's funny, I've got a 17-year-old working for me, and this morning in a team meeting, I was explaining stuff from the past, and we were talking about, tapes and that sort of thing. And I've gone, oh my gosh, like you would not even know about this stuff. And he's kind of head down and everyone else is giggling. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't get it. Like you don't know the struggle of the internet that makes the sound when you're trying to connect to it.
Yes, darling.
Michael Lane, thank you so much for your time. I'm really grateful that we got to do this, and you've just got so much to share. And I really hope that we can catch up again another time and just get some more goodness from you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to put a little bit of my journey in the spotlight. So I appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you. Well, there you have it. Yet another inspirational and motivational story that we were able to share with you. Please don't keep us a secret. Share the love across all of the social media platforms. The more the merrier. If we can get the message out to as many people as possible, then we can inspire and motivate as many people as possible. Really hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to sharing another one with you next time.